Swedish police have revealed that they have dealt with 5,000 incidents involving migrants since October and admit that this problem is increasing. In addition to that, 40% of Germans now say they want Chancellor Angela Merkel to resign over her refugee policy. And according to a new poll out today, a sign of rising dissatisfaction with her, welcoming all these folks, a million of them, into this country. So back with me, Eboni Williams, Jillian Melchior, and Gina Loudon. And let me start with you, Jillian. We've seen some amazing, in my mind, admissions from Sweden, Finland, and now even Germany in the last 48 hours. And it magnifies, in my mind, just how serious this crisis is.
Sure. I think this is a compound problem. At first, you have the complete breakdown of borders in Europe. You have the complete breakdown of rule of law, Germany not paying attention to what it had agreed to with dealing with asylum seekers. And now you have the problem of them trying to deal with this problem in retrospect. I think Angela Merkel has put herself in a position where there's no good out for her. Because she's trying to be compassionate. But we do see these problems. We do see that the government hasn't handled them competently, in some cases hasn't handled them openly. And now she's going to be faced with trying to deport people. Well, that's going to have an emotional pull as well. If you look at the photos of Elian Gonzalez in the U.S., you can imagine that with deportations times, thousands. I think this is going to be very difficult for her to navigate.
Maybe if this was a year ago, I would say there would be more broad sympathy. But from the things that we saw in Cologne on New Year's Eve and some of the other images that are starting to come out, I'm not so sure that the general public is going to be that sympathetic this time around, Eboni.
Yeah, I agree, Charles. I mean, look, I think all of us here, the humanistic component we're not absent of. But at the same time, unfortunately, and this actually breaks my heart, but it's the reality, we're now being forced to choose between being kind of proactive and cautious and precautionary and protective even, and compassionate. Yep. And unfortunately, when having to make a choice there, I think most people want to be proactive and protective.
Gina, Angela Merkel is announcing a new plan called the Asylum Package 2. It would make it easier to deport some of these migrants. Also, there's a 2-year ban on bringing your family over, but they make an exception for Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. And that brings us back to U.S. policy. Of course, Donald Trump would like a broad-based, no Muslims at all. Others are saying, let's compromise. Where do you think this ends up here?
Well, Trump's suggestion was to just put a moratorium on it. Yes, temporary. I think that's important to say because had, for example, Germany considered something like that, they might have some answers now. I think we have to consider that there is a massive culture clash psychologically happening here. Adherent Islam does not have the same treatment of women, does not advance the same treatment of women as our Western values do. So there's going to be a culture clash. That's why 800 assaults on women in one night, Charles, has prevented families like my own who had planned actually a trip to Germany, decided, you know what, we're not going to go there. We don't feel like it's safe. So there are a lot of implications coming down the pipe.
Social and economic ramifications, no doubt about it. Yes. And there's a culture clash. Ladies, thank you all very much. And before we go, an American success, we're talking about Bright Star Care founder